Ever caught yourself in a conversation saying something like, "I'm sorry, but," or "if it's okay with you," and suddenly feeling the dynamic shift, as if you've handed over the reins without meaning to? It's a moment many of us have experienced over the years, especially after decades of navigating professional ladders, family roles, and social circles. Words aren't just tools for communication, they're invisible architects of status, positioning you in hierarchies before anyone even processes the facts. If you've ever wondered why some people command respect effortlessly while others, despite their wisdom and accomplishments, get talked over or dismissed, it often boils down to these subtle linguistic choices. Today we're diving into how language shapes power, why certain phrases sabotage you, and how small tweaks can reclaim the authority you've built through a lifetime of experiences. Let's explore this together and uncover the speech patterns that could elevate how the world sees you. Deep down, every word we utter carries a hidden layer that signals our place in the social pecking order, often overriding the actual content. Before logic kicks in, listeners subconsciously assess confidence, dominance, or deference based on phrasing alone. It's like an unspoken code. Assertive language claims space, while hesitant words concede it. Over the years, you've likely noticed this in action, perhaps in a meeting where one person's direct statement steered the room, while another's qualified opinion faded into the background. This positioning happens silently, rooted in our primal need to gauge allies and leaders, making language a battlefield where status is won or lost in seconds. But there's a hidden cost to those seemingly harmless words we sprinkle into our speech, like qualifiers or softeners, that undermine our standing without us realizing. Phrases that hedge bets or seek permission might feel polite, but they broadcast submission, uncertainty, or low leverage, inviting others to dominate. Imagine reflecting on a negotiation from your career where a simple "maybe" or "I think" diluted your expertise, leading to concessions you didn't intend. These costs accumulate over time, eroding the respect you've earned through hard work and insight, turning potential equals into superiors in the eyes of others. Powerful people speak differently, not by accident, but through patterns that exude authority rather than approval seeking. They use declarative statements, avoid unnecessary fillers, and assume agreement rather than pleading for it. Contrast this with the common traps of over-explaining or diminishing ideas with disclaimers, habits that signal a need for validation. Think of influential figures you've admired over the decades. Their language was concise, unapologetic, framing ideas as facts rather than suggestions. This isn't about being brusque, it's about linguistic efficiency that preserves power, a skill honed through observation and practice. From a psychological standpoint, weak language triggers specific responses in the brain, as neuroscience and social psychology show us. Hedging, like adding, sort of, or kind of, activates doubt in listeners, mirroring our own insecurities and reducing perceived competence. Disclaimers and softeners exploit our social wiring, where the mind favors clear, confident signals as markers of reliability. Studies in these fields reveal how such patterns stem from fear of rejection, but they backfire by inviting scrutiny rather than trust. If you've ever felt dismissed after qualifying a strong point, it's because the brain processes that as low-status vulnerability, an insight that becomes clearer with age and reflection. Certain words and phrases instantly lower your status, falling into categories like over-apologizing, sorry to bother you, permission-seeking, would you mind if, or self-undermining, I'm no expert, but. These are verbal white flags, signaling deference and opening doors to dominance. Over-apologizing, for instance, implies fault where none exists, while permission-seeking hands control to the other party. Self-undermining phrases erode your credibility before you even make your case. We've all used them in moments of habit, but recognizing these categories is the first step to purging them, reclaiming the poise that life experience grants. We were taught these words through cultural conditioning, where politeness norms emphasize harmony over assertion, often rooted in fear of social friction. From childhood lessons to workplace etiquette, society pushes agreeableness as a virtue, especially in collaborative environments. But this training overlooks how it disadvantages us in competitive dynamics, training us to soften edges that should stay sharp. As older individuals, we've seen how these norms evolve across generations, yet the core issue remains: politeness without boundaries becomes a liability, a lesson learned through trial and error. These weak words don't just pass unnoticed, they invite interruption and disrespect by signaling openness to challenge. Speech patterns that qualify or defer make you an easy target for pushback, as others sense the lack of resistance. In conversations, this creates a feedback loop where your hesitation encourages dominance, leading to being talked over or ignored. Reflect on family discussions or professional debates where your softened language led to others steamrolling in. It's not coincidence. It's the direct result of linguistic cues that lower barriers to intrusion. Once you utter these words, the escalation effect kicks in, making first impressions sticky and hard to reverse. Language sets the tone early, and weak phrasing cements a low-status frame that's tough to shake within that interaction. It's like a verbal footprint that lingers, influencing how others respond long after. In negotiations or relationships built over years, this can compound, turning minor slips into entrenched dynamics where you're perpetually on the defensive. Awareness here is key. Preventing the initial utterance preserves your leverage from the start. Instead, embrace the replacement principle. Swap weak words for neutral, concise phrasing that maintains authority without veering into aggression. For over-apologizing, try straightforward acknowledgments like, "Let's discuss this." Permission-seeking becomes direct requests. "I need your input on this." Self-undermining shifts to confident assertions. Based on my experience, these alternatives are simple yet transformative, drawing on the clarity that comes with maturity to communicate effectively while holding ground. Sometimes, silence trumps any words, serving as a superior alternative to weak speech by conveying power through restraint. Saying less forces others to fill the void, amplifying your presence without dilution. In tense moments, a pause or quiet nod speaks volumes, signaling composure over reactivity. We've all witnessed this in wise mentors or leaders who've influenced us. Their measured silence commanded more respect than elaborate explanations ever could, a tool that's especially potent as we age and value economy and communication. In specific situations, these words prove fatal, costing dearly in meetings where hedging invites overrides, negotiations where deference weakens your position, relationships where over-apologizing breeds imbalance, or public settings where uncertainty diminishes your voice. At work, for example, self-undermining can stall promotions. In personal ties, it fosters resentment. These high-stakes arenas, familiar from a lifetime of engagements, demand vigilance. Weak language here doesn't just falter, it forfeits opportunities and respect hard-won over decades. Confident people often sound rude to the insecure because clarity without cushions challenges fragile egos, creating a perception gap between directness and arrogance. What feels blunt to some is simply unfiltered authority to others, unburdened by the need for approval. As we've observed in our own circles, this gap widens with those who project their doubts, labeling poise as haughtiness. Embracing this means owning your speech, knowing that true confidence resonates with equals while unsettling the uncertain. Over the long term, speech discipline rewires how people treat you, as consistent, strong language builds a reputation for authority. Each interaction accumulates, shifting perceptions from approachable to commanding. It's a gradual evolution, much like the wisdom we've gained through years. Initial discomfort gives way to natural respect, with others adjusting their behavior to match your elevated patterns. This discipline isn't rigid, it's empowering, fostering interactions that honor your stature. Apply this one rule to eliminate weak speech before speaking. Filter internally with, "Does this assert or defer?" This simple check pauses habits, ensuring words align with your intended status. Practice it in daily exchanges, and it becomes second nature, a mental habit that safeguards your power effortlessly. Ultimately, authority is built sentence by sentence, where respect accumulates through linguistic consistency rather than volume or force. It's not about shouting louder, but choosing wiser, crafting a verbal legacy that reflects the depth of your experiences. As you reflect on this, consider how tweaking your language could enhance the influence you've already cultivated. The next conversation is your chance. Speak with the quiet strength you deserve, and watch the world respond accordingly.